What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a new video. So today is one that I am extremely excited about. I was very fortunate to recently hatch out another clutch of Halmahera Scrub Pythons, one of my personal favorite species, one of the most incredible python species out there. The first clutch that some of you may remember was unfortunately only one baby. Well, it was two this time, so I guess it's a step in the right direction from some incredible adults, and the babies are just absolute stunners. So without further ado, let's get into this video. All right, so here is one of the babies. Of course, the third scrub python clutch of the year, and it is another clutch of Halmaheras. For any of you who saw the previous video I made, my first clutch was only one baby, and this second clutch was two babies, so maybe next year I'll get a three baby clutch. But no matter what, I'm obviously completely thrilled to have hatched out more Halmaheras, and this one in particular is a beefy, beefy snake. As you can tell from the shininess of the skin, the snake is still prior to its first shed. These animals hatched out while I was in Florida, so unfortunately I did not get to take the kind of classic right out of the egg box videos that I like to do. But nonetheless, still beautiful and still incredible, not complaining whatsoever, although it was kind of torturous for me to be away while these babies were hatching out, but definitely gave me something very good to look forward to upon return. But this baby here is just absolutely monstrous. As some of you may have seen from the first Halmahera clutch, the eggs from these guys so far, in my experience, have proved to be absolutely huge, which is interesting considering they're a bit smaller of a scrub python species. An interesting comparison that I often talk about is how the retics from Halmahera also have very large eggs, small clutches, and are a dwarf type, obviously relative to the mainland forms of the retics. Obviously, Halmahera retics do get significantly larger than Halmahera scrubs, but as is the species in general. But this baby has some incredible banding, really has a lot of great potential. Both of the babies from this clutch are males, so kind of good to offset the female that I got from my first clutch. Definitely will be holding on to these two, hopefully to establish the lineage of captive bred Halmaheras that I have produced. I have a handful of animals that Chuck Poland produced. I'll be showing you guys some of those animals later on in the video to kind of give you an idea of how these will potentially progress over time, especially considering the male is a bit of a higher yellow, orange colored individual. Definitely not your typical Halmahera. But this baby is just absolutely incredible. I'm so happy. And I'm going to show you guys the next one. And this second one has a little surprise for us. All right, so here is the second baby. And as you can tell from the velvety texture of the skin, this animal has had its first shed. It actually just shed today as of the filming of this video. And I mean, I'm just absolutely blown away by this individual. Kind of cool up front. Some of the how the banding kind of all connects there on the near the ventral. This animal obviously is a lot smaller than that first baby I showed you. This one was kind of out of the boob egg of the clutch. Unfortunately, this was kind of a low fertility, low fecundity clutch. The female laid 7 eggs, of which 4 were fertile, but 2 of them kind of fell off pretty quickly in incubation, and these 2 obviously made it the distance. This one kind of came out of the boob egg of the clutch and is significantly smaller than the other baby, but still, as far as baby scrubs go, is not really that small. This is kind of a pretty typical baby scrub size, although Halmaheras do seem to be a bit larger as neonates as far as the scrub scale goes. Seeing a lot of that cool kind of blue iridescence coming in right there. I kind of don't expect that to stay, but if it did, I would be absolutely thrilled. The mom, especially when she was younger, had a lot of that axanthic coloration to her that kind of is not quite as present now that she's an adult, now that she's a proven breeder, but still she's an absolutely incredible snake, and we'll take a look at her in a minute. So as of now, I think this one kind of resembles mom. Maybe the other male will resemble dad as it gets older, but time will tell. This is my first time raising captive bred Halmaheras from babies. I've raised wild caught baby Halmaheras before, and that was a super fun process. But these guys, especially being ones that I produce from my stock, make them extra, extra special. I'm absolutely over the moon thrilled about these snakes. All right, so a nice little treat here. The bigger of the 2 males decided he wanted to shed before the video had to go out, so why not show off him post-shed? But this is really a good example of just how extreme the difference is pre and post shed with scrub python, just with how shiny their skin is before that first shed, and then that kind of velvety matte look from afterward. Especially with types like southern scrubs and barnecks, where the pattern is a little bit more indescript when they're babies, the first shed makes a world of a difference, where an animal that has a significant pattern might look fully patternless before the shed and then afterward show a ton of pattern. Obviously not the case with Halmaheras, how they have this pattern and coloration similar to the adult form while they're babies, but no matter what, I always love to see it. This guy is just absolutely stunning. All right, so here is mom of the clutch. As you guys can see, she's really not all that big. These Halmaheras definitely stay a tad bit smaller than some of the rest of the scrub pythons. She is just at the 8-foot mark and obviously very, very slender, really to the point where feeding this girl a jumbo rat would be an absolutely monstrous meal. And the fact that she had 7 eggs to me was a really good sign, considering that was her first clutch. I think that she has pretty good size, pretty good body weight. Obviously, when it comes time for her to breed again, I'm going to want her to put a little bit more size on for that purpose. As you can see, a lot of really cool gray and silver colors coming through on this animal right here, as you kind of saw a little bit on the babies. Obviously, that's going to change over time as they grow. This girl sometimes will look super silver. We'll throw a picture up on the screen of her when she is maximally fired up. But really just an amazing snake. Super glad that she was able to have a clutch, and hopefully it is the first of more to come from her. All right, so here is dad of the clutch. Unfortunately, he's in shed right now, so his colors are not quite showing as brilliantly as they normally do. We'll throw a picture of him up on the screen, fully fired up, but he's definitely one of the higher colored individuals I have in the collection, especially for a wild caught. He has that kind of cool gold yellow with a little bit of an orange tint coloration to him. Pretty decent size as well. He's probably just shy of that 8-foot mark. So once again, this is kind of what you're looking at for this species. Some individuals have gotten pretty large of the species. I think I've heard a record of one almost 12 feet long, but for the most part, it seems like around 8 or 9 feet, but closer to 8 feet seems to be average adult size for them, and definitely reproductive size. For an animal like this, I don't really plan to get him a whole lot bigger than this. At this point, he's essentially maintenance fed to make sure that he maintains healthy muscle tone and body condition, but doesn't get too big to where he becomes a lazy breeder. I've had this snake for quite a while, raised him up from when he was fairly young, so to have offspring from him in particular is super special to me. I'm very happy that he is the dad of these babies. All right, so now just a couple older captive bred animals for fun. This is a male that Chuck Poland produced back in 2020, and he is just absolutely gorgeous. He's pretty fired up right now. He's got some of that cool gold coloration coming through. I love how thick the pattern is on this animal. And, you know, in a perfect world, I'd like to get this guy a little bit more size to potentially take him to a female or two for next breeding season. To me, these captive bred males are super exciting as far as the next generation goes. You know, whether I'm taking them to other captive bred females or even wild caughts, it is pretty cool to me that I even have that capability at this point of breeding captive bred animals while I'm raising up the ones that I produced. So definitely always fun to show these guys off. This male right here is absolutely gorgeous. All right, and now here on the exact opposite end of the color spectrum is this male, also captive bred from Chuck Poland. This is from his 2019 clutch. And this guy's dark pigmentation is just absolutely amazing. I've never seen another Halmahera like this. And I think this animal is a good example of what captive breeding can potentially unlock in this species, where an animal like this, you know, there probably have been wild caughts before that have a similar appearance. The mom has kind of a similar dark head to this guy, but not quite as pronounced. She's now in my collection. And just to see this look really gives me a lot of hope for the future with this species, just knowing what is possible with line breeding. Like I've said before, for years, these snakes were kind of written off as just kind of a drab brown snake, when in reality, their color palette is super diverse and they can really have some absolutely incredible colors, super high contrast, a lot of brightness as well. And with this first generation, we are just scratching the surface. Like I keep saying, I think these are the scrub python of the future. I think they're going to be the most popular in 10 years or so. And there are a lot of reasons for that. But an animal like this is a great example as to why I have that belief. All right, everybody, thank you for tuning into that video. If you liked it, please subscribe here on the YouTube channel. Like, comment, share, do all that good stuff. Hit the notification bell. I do drop a new video every single Friday. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Instagram at Scrub Shepherd, Stephen Cush on Facebook. I'm also on Morph Market under Cush Reptile. There you can find some of my available animals. I also host a podcast every single Wednesday night on the Trap Talk Reptile Network called Cush's Corner. All of the links to all of that is down in the description. Again, thank you guys for checking out the video, and I'll catch you all back here next week for a new one.